You're beginning to see quite a few of those groups, Chinese and in particular, now looking at the larger continental cities, and I think Germany meets the demand of a lot of those core investors. And we hear about a lot of capital heading to Spain, and Jan, your comment about Spain, don't worry, because the north of Europe is safe. And I think that kind of capital is going to focus on the German cities in particular. And so I think that whilst it is the case today that we haven't seen huge amounts of capital, I think if we look back in a year's time, we'll see a lot more of the core Asian capital will have come to Germany, and will be in those Frankfurt, Munich, Hamburg markets.
Last year, 75% of the deals done were done by locals. So you're only talking about an increase on a 25% bracket increasing. And if you look at the Q1 numbers, as you just put up on the screen, that's already moving out. So there is a paradigm shift on the investment side. There will be a paradigm shift on the interest side as well, but it'll increase. To what extent and who the players will be, and on the back of what investment managers that will happen, remains to be seen. But a certain interest and a certain deals will be there, and sentiment drives the markets. Right?
And do you think they'll be looking at specific sectors? Do you think that some sectors will outperform because, let's say, for example, retail, because people feel comfortable going into the more regional areas of Germany with retail than they would elsewhere? What have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, it depends if they have the choice, really.
So again, it's a product issue.
Yeah, well, we can talk about all this money being there, but it's got to be allocated to something. And my question is, where is the asset? Where is the product? Are they going to go for platforms? Will they go for single deals? Will they wait for a portfolio? If you get a portfolio, it'll be a mixed bag anyway, somewhere down the line. If you're targeting single assets, I agree, there aren't that many 100 million plus single assets out there to be bought and to be had. They're just going to have to look, and I think possibly they will play a certain economic issue. They're committing to the euro. Once they've committed to the pound, they'll start wanting to do something with the euro, and it'll be interesting to see what they really commit to.
Some of the Asian capital is coming a little bit of a different background. They're betting, if they have a, let's say, 15-20 year horizon, they know that they're not caring so much about 20 basis points higher or lower yield at the end, because they are betting something on the euro and the stability, given that they know especially that some Asian countries will have to depreciate given to gain competitiveness on the world scale on the next 15 to 20 years. So they have another point of in their return calculation that a lot of the, let's say, core European investors or European investors will not have. But at the same time, looking at regions or sectors, I think the question always is what availability is on the market, and I think that is the crucial factor. Who is able to really manage the assets that come to the market? And the more you get to the regions, the more what you see is now coming on the market. It's if it is developed to core, managed to core, or whatever to core, it might be. Possibly it's not really that you manage to core, you manage to value add, possibly even in some cases what you see on portfolios coming on the market. And the question is who is really able to access the value drivers in the assets that are now coming to the market, and that will be the big challenge for I think all the players to really position themselves in the way to be able to generate the returns they're trying or they're promising currently.
I think the majority of what they do is they'll simply partner up with a local asset manager, investment manager, and then you go into the depth. You don't need your own machinery on the ground. And I think that's what has been happening with the US money, and it has been happening, and it will happen with the Asian money. The question is how many good teams are out there, and how many mandates can they actually fulfill, and how strong are those teams, and how local are they? Because the ones out there at the moment are still big 5, big 7 concentrated, which is fine, honestly, for us, because we like doing the smaller stuff as well. But of course, those teams will be built up if the money flows into these markets. So.